The Central Bank of Nigeria says its attention has been drawn to an online publication listing the names of some commercial banks as being distressed. That statement was issued late yesterday from the office of the Director of Corporate Communications, Ibrahim Muazu, at the Central Bank of Nigeria. Says no Nigerian bank is quote-unquote experiencing distress. Okay, let's get some perspectives on the state of Nigeria's banking industry. In October, Afrinvest, Nigeria's licensed investment bank and securities trading firm, issued a report called Nigerian Banking in the Next Decade. That was the 2015 edition of that hundreds of pages of document showing the state of the banks in Nigeria. Now let's talk to one of the investment analysts from Afrinvest, the publisher of that book, that report, and answer the question for us if there are distressed banks on Broad Street. Robert Omotude, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, boss.
Okay, I'm sure since this news came out yesterday, there have been discussions between you and the rest of your team. Now, look into that report that was released about a month ago and tell us and give us an answer to what we have right now on the news wire.
All right. The news has been that the attention of the CBN was drawn to some news publication that some Nigerian banks are in distress. I would like to take this perspective to discussing and analyzing these issues. You recall that following the global market crisis of 2008, 2009, that trickled into the Nigerian system around 2009, the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, which is an international body, came up and put up some set of rules for the adequacy, the capital adequacy of commercial banks. Although these rules are not necessarily binding on countries, but it's a way that the global system are thinking of stabilizing, the financial system. And the Central Bank of Nigeria, after some banks were found to be in grave situations, about 8 of them in 2008, came up came up to adopt this Basel Committee provision for capital adequacy. And as you know, in Nigeria, after the repeal of the universal banking license, as we speak, the CBN issues about 3 major licenses to Nigerian banks. We have some Nigerian banks that are national banks, some are international banks, while some are regional banks. And then the CBN created systematically important banks, all in the bid to strengthen and to position certain banks who are considered to be of systemic importance to the financial system in Nigeria. And in terms of capital adequacy, the global benchmark, as stipulated by the Bankers Committee on Banking Supervision, was 8%. And as we speak, CBN has more stringent rules for these banks. For instance, the National Bank has 10% capital adequacy provision, according to the CBN. For international banks, we have 15%, and for systematically important banks, their own regulation is for 16%. Now, as we speak, based on our own analysis of the 2015, in our 2015 banking sector report, currently, all institutions are adequately capitalized, because if you analyze it, all the tier 1 banks where you have State Bank, GTB, Zenith Bank, UBA, ETI, and of course UBA. These are the banks that are classified as tier 1 in Nigeria. The average of capital adequacy ratio of this bank about 18.9%. The least capitalized bank in that league is having an capital adequacy ratio of about 16.7%, which is largely in line with the regulation of the CBN. And in the tier 2 states, where you have Sky Bank, Diamond Bank, and the like, the average capital adequacy ratio is about 17.62%. And in regards to the particular bank which was mentioned in the report, Sky Bank, we have taken a look at the numbers. As a third quarter, the company is having a capital adequacy ratio of about 16.9. And we have done some scenario analysis that, meaning that the bank has half-year result that was released is adequately capitalized. recapitalize. So even if the bank will take some impairment, as at the half-year results, we found out that this bank has non-performing loans to the tune of about 30.8 billion. And as at that time, only 5.3 billion of that non-performing loans, were impaired in their financials. So even at the end of the year, if they decide to impair 30.8 billion of their non-performing loan, the diminution on their equity capital, which is their shareholders' fund, in the tune of about 161 billion, will still not be enough to say that the bank is in distress. And we have to put things in proper perspective in this context, because for a bank to be in distress, it means that you're saying this bank has a negative shareholders' fund. And as we speak, based on our own analysis, and even the bank in question, there is no bank of such that is having such crisis. What the CBN has said is that banks must ensure that they stay within the limits of their capital adequacy. For instance, Sky Bank is an SIB bank, meaning it's systematically important to the Nigerian financial system. Number one, CBN will not allow such a bank to go under. Number two, there are stringent rules that have been put in place, one of which is 16% capital adequacy, which the bank was able to make after the half year of their financial year in 2015. So even if the bank is now going to impair some of their loans, because we discovered that about 33% of their loan book is skewed to the oil and gas sector. And if you do some calculation of this, if, for instance, all the loans in the oil and gas sector, based on the challenges that the company has been facing, goes back, that's about 33% of their shareholders' fund. Of course, that is significant. But again, and that's why the CBN is consistently monitoring the adequacy of this bank. So the CBN is telling them, okay, if there are issues and if there are signals that you may be falling short of your capital adequacy, then you need to recapitalize. So recapitalization does not mean that the bank is distressed or the bank is going on.
Ayo, very quickly, let's spend about 2 minutes, or just about 1 minute. So, was that the basis, therefore, the central bank over the last couple of months have said there should be some form of recapitalization by June 2016 for some of the commercial banks? On what basis were those discussions going around in the last couple of months?
Yes, you note the fact that I said there are stringent rules that are put in place. For instance, in the case of Sky Bank, 16.1% after the acquisition of Main Street Bank, as an half year, the bank has 16.9% capital adequacy ratio, which means that perhaps because of the challenges and the skewness of their loan portfolio to the oil and gas, there are challenges with some of their risk assets. Now, it is possible that it's been estimated that their capital adequacy may be short of the regulation. So there is a window for the CBN to, begin to tell them that, guys, you may need to recapitalize, in order to, shore up your capital to accommodate some of the risks that you are taking. And then remember that when we talk about capital adequacy ratio, we are looking at the qualifying capital of the bank relative to their risk-weighted assets. So, the bank has been on a drive for more deposits, in recent times, which of course the bank will be deploying into creating risk assets. But the CBN, the big brother in this case, is telling them that, and some other banks which are found to be in this kind of situation, that you may need to recapitalize, which means that you need to come up and live up to the level of the regulation which has been set. And it does not necessarily mean that these banks are in distress.
Okay, thank you very much, Robert, via Skype. We apologize the quality of the Skype connection there. But we thank you very much for answering the key question. And you've just answered that. In summary, there are no distressed banks in Nigeria.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Robert Omotunde, investment analyst at Afrinvest, the publisher of that report, Nigerian Banking in the Next Decade. Perhaps this is the time to lay your hands on that report and read it all over once again. We'll be back on Monday, a fresh edition of Business Morning, live to you from Channels Television Global Headquarters. I am Postin Amafaye. Do have a great weekend, and I'll see you at the other side of the weekend. Bye for now.